You're watching Freedom TV channel. This is our time. The main news at this hour will be brought to you by me, Oleg Borisov. Hello? Last night, Kharkiv came under attack by Russian forces. The occupying army struck an apartment building in Kharkiv's Kyiv district. The internal structures and the balcony of the top-floor apartment were partially destroyed. 9 people were injured. This was reported by city authorities. All relevant emergency services are working at the scene. This morning in Kherson, a Russian drone hit a children's hospital. The drone flew into one of the windows and did not explode. This was reported by the regional police. There were no casualties. Bomb disposal experts are working at the scene. They are inspecting the remains of the drone and the explosive device. It was made from an anti-tank mine. In the Poltava region, as a result of a Russian attack, more than 5,000 customers were left without gas supply. This was reported by the regional military administration. All services are working to eliminate the consequences of the shelling. There have been no reports of injuries or fatalities. Last night, Russian occupiers launched a total of 102 drones at Ukraine, 60 of which were Shaheds. Air Defense Forces managed to neutralize 93 targets. Ukraine and Saudi Arabia have signed a defense cooperation agreement. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, the document lays the foundation for further contracts, technological cooperation, and investments, and also strengthens Ukraine's international role as a security donor. We are ready to share our expertise and system with Saudi Arabia and to cooperate in order to enhance the protection of lives. For 5 years now, Ukrainians have been fighting against the same kind of terrorist attacks with ballistic missiles and drones that the Iranian regime is now launching on the Middle East and the Gulf region. And Saudi Arabia has things that Ukraine is interested in. This cooperation can be mutually beneficial. We also discussed the situation in the Middle East and the Gulf region as a whole. Russian assistance to the Iranian regime, the situation on fuel markets, and possible energy cooperation. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, on Telegram. In Saudi Arabia, the president also met with Ukrainian military experts who have been working in the country for over a week. During this time, they managed to share Ukraine's experience in protecting infrastructure with their partners and the civilian population from drone and missile attacks. Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine is ready for long-term and mutually beneficial cooperation. A meeting of the G7 foreign ministers is taking place in France. The main focus is Russia's war against Ukraine, the situation in the Middle East, and threats to global stability. Diplomats will discuss common security challenges and opportunities for cooperation. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also arrived at the G7 ministerial meeting. Ukraine's foreign minister, Andriy Sybiha, called for a decisive response to Russia's nuclear threats. In France, during the G7 session, he spoke at a meeting dedicated to the restoration of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which was damaged as a result of Russian attacks. Andriy Sybiha emphasized the systematic nature of the massive attacks on Ukraine's energy system, including nuclear facilities. According to the minister, the Russian occupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and its transformation into a military base, the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam, as well as attempts to seize the nuclear plant and connect it to Russia's power grid could have catastrophic consequences. He called on partners to prevent these threats. There should be no steps taken to legitimize Russia's actions or its occupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Pressure must be applied to force Russia to return the plant to its rightful owner, Ukraine. Moscow must clearly understand that the international community firmly rejects its nuclear blackmail. Only an adequate response can force it to stop. Violation of international rules. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on the sidelines of the G7. The regimes in Moscow and Tehran are working together to undermine security in Europe and the Middle East. Thus, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha commented on a Financial Times publication reporting that Moscow is providing Tehran with intelligence, including satellite images and combat drones. According to the head of Ukrainian diplomacy, such coordination poses a threat not only to Ukraine. Putin is doing this deliberately. He is prolonging Russia's war against Ukraine, and now he is doing exactly the same thing in the Middle East. He is dragging out the war. For him, war is a source of profit, especially considering oil prices. The longer the suffering lasts, the better it is for him. In light of this, any lifting of restrictions on the Russian economy simply makes no sense. On the contrary, the pressure should be sharply increased. The cost of both wars should become unbearable for both criminal regimes. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on the social network X. Canada has imposed sanctions against Iranian companies that transfer technology for weapons production to the Iranian regime and the Russian Federation, including manufacturers of Shahed drones. This decision was made by the Canadian government. The restrictions target 5 company executives and 4 legal entities. Their assets in Canada have been frozen and they are banned from entering the country or transferring any Canadian property. These sanctions are aimed at Iranian businessmen and companies directly involved in procurement networks that produce and supply advanced technologies supporting the production and transfer of weapons to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. The transfer by the Islamic Republic of Iran of weapons, unmanned aerial vehicles, and technologies to malicious actors, such as networks and proxies of Iran, and to Russia for use in its aggressive war against Ukraine, fuels armed conflict, threatens the sovereignty of other states, and violates international norms. From a statement by the Canadian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ukrainian interceptor drones are the most cost-effective, simple, and efficient solution in the fight against Shahed-type attack drones. And these developments by the Ukrainian defense industry are attracting interest from military agencies of various countries, particularly in the Middle East. In the following segment, we'll look at how interceptor drones work and what crew members who use them have to say.
This is the launch of one of Ukraine's interceptor drones. Pivinsan in the Kharkov region, Russian attack UAVs strike civilians almost every day. To keep them out of the city and the region, several lines of air defense were set up. In particular, it's with the help of interceptor drones that operators block Russian UAV flights during nighttime attacks.
There are several interception lines where groups can be positioned so they overlap as much as possible. That is, in places where we can't quite reach. Another group needs to reach that spot and create a wall the enemy can't break through.
Boris, the commander of one of the interceptor drone platoons, says that as soon as an enemy UAV appears on the radar, the crew has only a few minutes to destroy it.
Do you know where you can intercept it? You know where you can intercept it. You basically have a minute, 2 at most. After that, the chances of catching up to it are very slim. In February, we had 2 confirmed hits and 2 more where there was no detonation.
There can be several interceptor launches in one night, but if the target isn't found, the pilots bring them back to base. We
had a dry. We had a night when there were 10 launches, and we didn't detect a single one. Well, I mean, you more or less know where to look. Roughly where. Our policy is, if you don't find anything there, and you have the chance to return, we come back.
To counter Russian Shaheds, in 2024, Ukraine came up with and later launched mass production of them. Interceptor drones like Sting, Pivinsan, and others. These developments by the Ukrainian defense industry are now attracting worldwide interest since the war in the Middle East has shown just how dangerous Shaheds can be.
If critical infrastructure sites are equipped with such automatic or semi-automatic systems, then that's most likely the future.
As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported, Ukraine has received requests to supply drones from 11 countries, and several groups of Ukrainian military personnel have already traveled to Middle Eastern countries to consult on countermeasures against Shaheds.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.